My name is Brad Mitchell. I'm 38, American, the kind of guy who remembers dates, routines, and what my wife orders without looking at the menu. I always believed if you paid attention to the small things, the big stuff in a marriage didn't fall apart. That's what I was thinking when I pulled into the Harbor House lot, half an hour early, engine ticking in the cool ocean air. 10 years earlier, Melissa and I had sat inside that place, two broke transplants pretending we had any business in a restaurant with white tablecloths. Tonight was supposed to be the full circle moment, her 40th birthday, us, same place, different people but still together. I walked in holding a small black box in my pocket, feeling the corners through the fabric. The bracelet inside had tiny charms, a house key, a little gold M, a silver airplane for our first Europe trip, a tiny lighthouse for this town. Stupid, maybe, but it felt like proof that I'd been watching, listening, collecting us. Harbor House smelled like lemon butter, charred fish skin, and expensive wine. Soft clink of glassware, low conversation, the kind of dim lighting that makes everyone look like a better version of themselves. The hostess smiled, checked the book, and led me toward the center of the room. I took my seat, facing the window where you could just see the water flashing between parked cars. I smoothed the tablecloth out of habit, adjusted the fork, set my phone face down. Everything in me was calm, content. A man who thinks he has his life mostly figured out. The waiter walked up. A young guy, early 20s, dark hair tucked behind his ears, name tag shining, Julian. He had that combination of nerves and politeness you only see in people who actually care about doing a good job. "Good evening, Mr. Mitchell," he said, glancing at the tablet in his hand. "Happy birthday dinner, right?" "Not mine," I said. "My wife's, Melissa." He nodded, tapping the screen, then frowned for half a second like he was double-checking something. "Oh, right," he said, casual, harmless. "So the other husband isn't coming tonight?" The words just hung there. The clink of glassware faded. The murmur of conversations blurred out. It felt like someone had turned the volume off on the whole room, except for that one sentence, echoing on a loop in my head. I didn't answer him. Couldn't. I just stared while something cold and heavy slid down the back of my neck and settled in my gut. That was the moment my marriage ended. I was still sitting there with a bracelet in my pocket, but the life I thought I had already been blown apart by a stranger who didn't even know he'd pulled the pin. For a few seconds I thought I'd misheard him. What? I managed. Julian's eyes flicked up from the tablet, and I watched the color drain out of his face. He knew immediately he'd stepped into something he shouldn't have. Excuse me 1 second, sir." His voice dropped. "Could I talk to you in the back for a moment?" He glanced over his shoulder, like he was checking if someone was watching. I didn't move. My hand was still in my pocket, fingers wrapped around the bracelet box like it was an anchor. "Please," he added quietly. "It's important." That word did it. I stood up. He led me past the other tables, through a narrow doorway by the bar, into a short-service hallway that smelled like detergent, roasted garlic, and old coffee. There were racks of polished glasses, a bus tub stacked with plates, the distant hiss from the kitchen. Julian turned to face me, swallowed once, then folded his hands in front of him like he was about to confess to something. "I'm really sorry, Mr. Mitchell," he said. "I thought you knew." "Knew what?" My voice came out steady. Too steady. He took a breath. "Your wife, Melissa. She's been coming here almost every Wednesday night for, I don't know, maybe close to 2 years. Always with the same guy." The hallway seemed to tighten. "Say his name." "Garrett. Garrett Thompson." He looked me straight in the eye. "We all just assumed he was her husband." He didn't rush. No drama. Just simple, clean sentences. "They're regulars," he went on. "They have a standing reservation at the corner table by the window. They laugh a lot. Share food. She fixes his collar sometimes. He puts his hand on her back when they walk in and out. To us, they read like a married couple." My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. I stared at the stacked plates over his shoulder because if I looked at him, something might crack. "You're sure?" I said. "I am." He hesitated. "Sir, if I were wrong, I'd be fired. I know what I'm saying. Humiliation hit first. Not anger. Just that ugly, hot awareness that strangers had been watching a life I didn't know existed, and mistook it for the real one. Julian shifted his weight, then his tone changed. Harder now. Sharper. There's more, he said. I wouldn't be telling you any of this if it was just whatever people do. But she and Garrett, he exhaled, frustrated just thinking about it. They treat staff like we're props. No tips. Ever. Constant complaints. Making scenes over stupid things. Bread is not warm enough. A water glass with a thumbprint. Last week she almost got me written up because her fish was too flaky. He looked embarrassed, like he hated talking about it. I get up at 5 for classes, he said. I work nights here so I can stay in school. Most people are decent. They're not. He shook his head. She made it clear she could get me fired if I didn't pay more attention. I studied him then. Kid, maybe 23. Tired eyes. Shirt pressed. A guy trying to do things the right way. So why tell me? I asked. Because I decided, he said simply. If the real husband ever walked in here alone, I wasn't going to protect her lie. Not after the way she talks to us. Not after last week. He met my eyes and held them. No flinching. I know this is wrecking your night, he added. But you deserve to know who she is when you're not around. I nodded once. The humiliation burned, but there was something else starting underneath it now, cold, focused. Thank you, I said. He opened his mouth like he wanted to apologize again, then thought better of it. Just stepped aside and let me pass. I walked out of that hallway a different man than the one who'd walked in. Same clothes, same bracelet in my pocket. But now I knew. The person I'd been married to had a whole other life, and a tired kid with a name tag knew that life better than I did. I didn't wait for Melissa. I walked straight out of Harbor House, past the couples, past the hostess stand, into the sharp, salty air. My hands were steady on the outside. Inside, it felt like my organs were rearranging themselves. In the car, I sat for a minute with the engine off, the restaurant glowing behind me in the rearview mirror like some kind of stage I'd just been yanked off of. My phone was on the passenger seat. I picked it up, thumb hovering. We'd had that location-sharing app for years. Her idea, actually. Safety, she'd said. Late drives. Night classes. All the logical reasons. I never checked it unless one of us was traveling. I opened it. First, I sent the text. Work emergency. I'm so sorry. We'll celebrate this weekend, I promise. I love you. Happy birthday. It was reflex muscle memory speaking. A husband covering for a night that had already died. 3 dots popped up almost instantly. Oh no, are you okay? Course, don't worry about tonight. Pilates was brutal anyway, lol. Rain check. Pilates. Right. I went back to the app. I scrolled to the previous Wednesday. A blue pin glowed on the map, planted neatly over Harbor House. Timestamped 7:12 p.m. to 9:48 p.m. I zoomed out, hit the little calendar icon, went back another week. Another Wednesday. Same pin. Same window of time. I started moving backward faster. The screen blurred a little, not from speed, from my eyes burning. But the pattern was clean. Wednesdays, month after month. At least a year and a half of it. Her Pilates across town alibi, mapped in neon right on the place where Julian had just given me the truth. No tantrum, no yelling, just a cold, methodical nausea settling into my bones. She'd worn workout clothes, done the messy bun, walked in the door with that tired, satisfied smile and stories about new routines and sore muscles. And I'd believed her because that's what you do when you think your wife is on your team. Sitting there in the dark lot, the glow of the phone lighting my hands, I made myself a quiet promise. I'm not going to explode. I'm not going to storm into that restaurant and make a scene. I'm going to understand exactly how deep this goes before I make a single move she can see. I don't remember the drive home. 1 second I was in the Harbor House lot. The next I was pulling into the driveway of our renovated Victorian like it was any other Wednesday. The porch light was on, casting that warm yellow glow she liked. The house looked exactly the same. I was the only thing that had changed. Inside, the pictures on the wall felt like props. Beach trip, anniversary, Christmas in matching sweaters she swore she hated, but wore anyway. All of it posed by a woman who spent Wednesdays being someone else's wife. I didn't go to the bedroom. I went straight to the shared home office. Her laptop was on the desk, plugged in, lid closed but not shut down. Same machine, same sticker on the cover, same faint smudge on the trackpad. I opened it. The login screen blinked at me. Same password she'd had for years. It hit me, hard and stupid. The door to her other life was never locked. I just never tried the handle. I typed it in. The machine opened like it was happy to see me. Inbox, calendar, all the normal noise. I went to search and started with his last name. Thompson. Too broad. Work stuff. PDA lists. Then I noticed a folder in her email labeled Archived Projects. Boring name. Safe name. Inside were hundreds of threads. First, it read like networking. Professional. Harmless. Then it shifted. Compliments on how sharp she was. Jokes about meetings running long. Then the tone changed. More personal, more intimate. Nicknames. Late-night messages. Talk about missing each other. References to our Wednesdays. To our room on certain Thursdays. To conferences that I knew damn well didn't exist. Nothing graphic, but the intent was clear enough to make my stomach roll. I had to step away twice, dry heave over the kitchen sink, and splash cold water on my face. Each time I went back. If she built a second life, I was going to read every blueprint. I started forwarding everything to my own email. Downloaded copies. Saved attachments. Dates, times, hotel confirmations. I wasn't just a shocked husband anymore. I was an investigator, and she'd left her whole case file open on the desk. By the time I finished copying everything, the sky outside had gone black. The house was quiet in that way it gets late. Refrigerator hum, the occasional tick of old pipes. I turned every light off except the lamp in the living room. Then I turned that off too and sat in the dark. Laptop closed. Phone on the armrest. A man who'd just watched 3 years of his life replay in a version he was never shown. Around 11, the garage door rumbled open. Headlights swept across the front windows for a second, then died. I heard the car door, the jingle of her keys, the little off-key hum she always did when she thought she was alone. The door from the garage clicked, then opened. She walked in wearing black leggings, a loose tank, hair in a messy bun, sports bra strap showing. Light sheen of sweat, water bottle in hand. It was a perfect costume. I'd admired the dedication before. She hit the switch and jumped when she saw me on the couch. "Jesus, Brad," she laughed, hand to her chest. "You scared me. Why are you sitting in the dark?" I watched her, the way she reset instantly, face soft, eyes concerned. "I thought we were meeting at Harbor House," she said, dropping her gym bag. "I'm so sorry, Pilates ran long." And then, she stopped herself, shook her head like she was annoyed at the day. "We'll reschedule, okay? How was your night?" She smiled. "Easy. Practiced." I let the silence stretch. "How was Pilates?" I asked. Neutral voice. No edge. Just a husband making small talk. She rolled her eyes. "Ugh, killer. They changed up the routine. My legs are going to be dead tomorrow." She took a step closer. "You okay? You look tired." "Yeah," I said. "I had kind of a long night too." She tilted her head, the way she always did when she thought I needed coddling. "Work." I let out a slow breath. No theatrics, just the line. "Funny thing about your Pilates studio," I said. "On the map, it shows up as Harbor House. Every Wednesday, 7 to 10. Same little blue dot. Same table by the window. With Garrett." It was like someone unplugged her. The color drained from her face. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Her eyes did this quick flick. Toward the door, toward the hallway, anywhere but me. As if there might be some exit she could take, some version of reality she could sprint into instead. She finally managed one word. "Brad, the performance is over," I said quietly. You don't have to hit your marks anymore. She tried to move first. Brad, it's not what you. I held up a hand. Don't, I said. Just sit. Something in my voice must have landed, because she did. Perched on the edge of the couch, still in her fake workout gear, hands knotted together. I can explain, she started again, softer. It's complicated. No, I said. I've spent the last few hours going through 3 years of your explanations. I walked to the hallway closet, opened it, and pulled out the manila folder I'd printed earlier. It was heavy in a way paper shouldn't be: emails, hotel confirmations, calendar invites, location logs. A whole second marriage organized by date. I came back to the coffee table and let the folder fall open. Pages slid out, scattered across the wood. Her own words stared back at her. She reached for one, hands shaking. I watched her eyes move. Subject line, date, our Wednesdays. Can't wait to see you. Thursday client meetings. That lined up with hotel reservations in another stack. She made a small sound. Not even a word. Just air leaving a body when the lie finally hits the wall. I talked to a lawyer tonight, I said. A couple hours after Julian told me about your standing reservation with Garrett. Turns out, in our state, infidelity still means something on paper. Especially when you keep receipts for your little vacations. She looked up fast. Julian, the waiter you tried to get fired over flaky fish. The one you and your boyfriend bullied for sport. He decided if your real husband ever walked in alone, he'd tell him the truth. Tears were already rolling down her face. Brad, it was a mistake. It just... Stop calling it a mistake. I cut in, calm, flat. A mistake is one bad night. This is 2 years of reservations, hotel keys, and lies you told while wearing my ring. She put her face in her hands. I never meant to hurt you. I still... Don't say you love me, I said. Whatever you feel, it's not something I'm interested in naming anymore. The word love sounded obscene in that room, like graffiti on a gravestone. I let her cry, let her reach for my hand and pull back when she saw I wasn't offering it. Tomorrow morning, I said. I'm calling the lawyer back. We're starting the divorce paperwork. You'll get everything through email or your attorney. Tonight, I'm leaving. She choked on it. You're just walking away? I looked at the pages on the table, the history I'd never been shown. I'm not walking away, I said. I'm walking out of something you already burned down. I packed a suitcase that night with the basics: clothes, toiletries, laptop. No drama, no yelling. I left the house key on the counter, next to a stack of papers she'd written and I'd printed. The hotel I checked into was bland. Beige walls, thin towels, humming AC. Best sleep I'd had in months. Not because I was happy, because for the first time in a long time, nobody was lying to my face. The next morning, I met my lawyer in a conference room that smelled like old coffee and copy paper. I laid out the evidence: emails, location logs, hotel bookings, the neat little pattern of her Pilates nights. He didn't flinch, just nodded, tapped his pen, and started outlining the strategy. He explained how it worked in our state, how documented infidelity still carries weight, how judges look at patterns, proof, not stories about it just happened. I didn't need the legalese. I just needed to know the system had a name for what she did. For 6 months, my life shrank down to work, a small rental apartment, and meetings with attorneys. Her lawyer tried to negotiate around the edges. Misunderstandings, emotional context, all the usual fog. My lawyer slid pages across the table. Dates, times, her own words. Melissa sent long texts, paragraphs about how she lost herself, how Garrett meant nothing, how we could find our way back. I read them, archived them, and replied once. From here on out, please communicate through attorneys only. She showed up at my gym once, tried to corner me in the parking lot, mascara running. I walked past her, not fast, not slow, just steady. Almost a year after the ruined birthday, I sat in a courtroom on a gray autumn morning. Case number on a docket. Our marriage boiled down to assets, accounts, signatures. When the judge finalized it and handed down the split house to me, most of the investments too, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt clean, like someone had finally turned off a noise I'd gotten used to living with. A year and 3 months after Julian dropped that grenade in Harbor House, my life looked nothing like the one I left. I had a 2-bedroom apartment downtown with big windows and a view of the park. Mornings started with coffee on the balcony, watching runners cut through the fog. Work had turned into a promotion and a bigger office. Apparently being ruthlessly focused on something that isn't your marriage looks a lot like drive to management. And I was seeing someone, Sophie Carter, graphic designer, dry sense of humor, quiet eyes that actually listened when I talked. We moved slowly. I didn't overshare. She didn't pry. We just kept showing up, date after date, until one day I realized my shoulders didn't tense when my phone buzzed anymore. On a Saturday afternoon, we were walking hand in hand through the shopping district. Sun out, street buskers playing, people dragging bags and kids and dogs. Normal life. That's when I saw her. Melissa stepped out of a department store about 20 feet ahead of us. A couple of generic shopping bags hanging from one wrist. For a second my brain didn't register her. Just another person in the crowd. Then something clicked into place. She looked smaller. Hair pulled back without care. Dark roots showing. Clothes plain, loose in the wrong places. Shoulders hunched like she was bracing for weather that wasn't there. No shine. No performance. Just a woman who'd lost the script that used to run her life. She saw me. I froze. Her face did this quick cycle, shock, hope, guilt, all crashing into each other. Then she tried a smile, the kind she used to use to soften a fight before it started. "Brad," she said, taking half a step forward. I didn't stop walking. I gave her a polite nod, the kind you give a neighbor you moved away from years ago. No hatred, no warmth, just acknowledgement and distance in the same motion. She opened her mouth like she was about to launch into something. Apology, plea, who knows? But the moment passed. The crowd moved. So did I. Sophie's hand tightened around mine. "You okay?" she asked quietly. I looked at her. In an easy, calm way she met my eyes. Then back at the sidewalk ahead. "Yeah," I said. "I am." And for the first time since the night at Harbor House, it wasn't bravado or armor. It was just the truth. I didn't need to know how Melissa's story was going. Whether Garrett was still around. Whether she'd burned that life down too. She was a ghost I'd already buried. She wasn't a character in my story anymore. I didn't go back to Harbor House for a long time. For a while, just driving past the street sign made my jaw tighten. That place wasn't a restaurant in my head. It was a crime scene with linen napkins. Eventually, though, life got louder than the memory. Work, the apartment, Sophie, the court papers gathering dust in a box I never opened. About a year after I saw Melissa on that sidewalk, I woke up on a clear Sunday and knew exactly what I was going to do. No big epiphany, no dramatic dream. I just made coffee, sat at my small kitchen table, and realized there was one chapter one hadn't closed myself. It had closed on me the first time. This time I wanted my hands on it. So that evening, as the sun started dropping and the sky went that dull orange it gets near the water, I got in my car and drove to Harbor House. The lot looked the same, maybe a few new cars. Same view of the bay between the buildings. I parked in almost the same spot as that night, the one where I'd sat in the dark and watched my marriage fall apart on a map. Only difference this time. My hands didn't shake when I turned off the engine. Inside, the place smelled like it always had: lemon butter, grilled fish, wine. Couple minor changes. New art on the wall. Different styles of chairs. But the bones were the same. You can upgrade the decorations, you can't change the air. The hostess looked up with a professional smile. "Good evening. Do you have a reservation?" "Not yet," I said. "Table for one if you can swing it. By the window if it's open." She tapped something on the screen, then nodded. "We can do that. It'll be just a minute." "Thanks," I said. "Also, is Julian working tonight?" Julian Harris. Her face broke into a real smile, the kind people can't fake. "Yeah, he is. He's our assistant manager now. Do you want me to grab him?" "Please," I said. She disappeared toward the back. I stood there, looking over the room. Different faces, same type of people. Couples leaning in close. A family bribing kids with dessert. Two guys in suits talking too loud. A normal place living its normal life. After a minute, Julian came out from the side hallway. Dress shirt, no apron. Slim black tie. A small headset in one ear. Older by a couple of years in the way people who work hard get older. More solid, more grounded. He saw me, and I watched his expression shift. Recognition, then caution. "Mr. Mitchell?" he said. "Brad," I corrected. "It's been a while." He looked like he didn't know whether to apologize again or run a fire drill. "It has. How are you?" "I'm good," I said, and I meant it. "Looks like you are too." "Assistant manager." "Huh?" Quick, proud nod. "Yeah. Finished school, stayed on. They've been good to me here." "That's good to hear." There was a beat of silence. He shifted his weight, glanced toward the host stand like he was waiting for the other shoe. "Julian," I said, "relax. I'm not here to cause a scene. That was never my thing, and it's definitely not tonight." He exhaled, just a little. "Okay. After that night, I wasn't sure if I'd ever see you again." "Honestly," I said, "I wasn't sure either." I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out a plain white envelope. Not thick, but not empty. Inside was cash and a small note on a folded card. I held it out. "This is for you." He started to shake his head. "Sir, I really can't." "Yeah," I cut in. "You can. And you will. Because this isn't a tip for service. It's a thank you for doing something most people wouldn't have had the guts to do." He took it slowly, slid the card out, eyes scanning the single line I'd written. "Thank you for your courage. Changed my life for the better." His throat worked. He read it twice, like he was making sure he hadn't misunderstood it, then folded the card back, careful, like it was something fragile. "I felt bad," he admitted quietly. "For a long time, like I blew up your life." "You didn't blow up anything," I said. "You just turned on the lights." The wreckage was already there. He looked down, then back up. There was a question in his eyes he didn't ask, but I answered it anyway. "I'm divorced," I said. "Got the house. Got free. Moved downtown anyway. Doing better than I thought I would the night you pulled me into that hallway." He let out a breath that was half relief, half something like pride. "They never came back, you know," he said. "Her and the guy. After that night. Reservation just stopped." "Sounds right," I said. "Cowards don't do well under bright lights." He almost smiled at that. Not mocking, just understanding. "Can I have them send you something special?" he asked. "On the house." "I appreciate it," I said. "But I'm good with a regular menu and a normal bill. I'm here to eat a good meal and go home. That's it." "Then let me at least get you the best table by the window," he said. "It's available." "That?" I said. "I'll take it." He led me over himself. Different table than the one I'd sat at with a bracelet in my pocket. Same view of the water, now catching the last light of the day. I ordered seafood, same dish I'd gotten for years on anniversaries. Tasted better this time. Not because the chef had improved, but because the food wasn't carrying the weight of some fake memory on its back. Between bites, I sat quietly and let my thoughts line up. People talk about betrayal like it's just the moment you find out. The dramatic scene, the screaming. What they don't tell you is that the real damage is retroactive. Once you know the truth, it leaks backward. It stains every fight you let go, every late night you forgave, every "I love you" you took at face value. You can't tape that kind of trust back together. Not really. You can pretend. You can glue it. You can slap paint on it. But underneath, you'll always see the crack. I looked around the room. Couples. Servers. The little engine of a restaurant just doing its thing. Most of the people here would never know that this place had once been ground zero for my life blowing sideways. To them, it was just a nice spot with expensive fish. And sitting there, fork in hand, I realized that's exactly what I wanted it to be again. For me, just a place, not a shrine, not a scar, I thought about masks. The version of Melissa that cooed at waiters when I was around versus the one who threatened a 23-year-old's job over bread temperature. The woman who said she loved me versus the one who treated me like background noise while she built something better in her head. You learn more about people by how they treat someone who can't give them anything than by any speech they make when they want your forgiveness. I finished my meal, paid the bill, left a big tip for the server, separate from what I'd given Julian. On the way out, I caught his eye across the room, gave him a small nod. He nodded back, hand resting on the envelope in his pocket like he still couldn't believe it was real. Outside, the air was cool and clean. The bay was a dark strip beyond the parked cars, the last of the daylight bleeding out. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel broken. I just felt lighter, like I'd finally picked up a book I'd dropped in the middle of the worst chapter, read the last page, and closed it myself. Walking back to my car, I thought about one more thing. Sometimes the person who ends up saving you isn't a therapist or a buddy or some motivational guru. Sometimes it's a tired kid in a white shirt and name tag who decides his dignity is worth more than someone else's comfortable lie. I got in the car, started the engine, and checked my phone. A text from Sophie. Hope your dinner was good. See you later? I smiled. Typed back. Yeah. Dinner was exactly what it needed to be. I'll be home soon. Then I pulled out of the lot, leaving Harbor House in the rearview. Finally just a restaurant again, and nothing more.